So let us understand what is the effect of water on quality and preservation of food. So we know that water is one of the nature's most important gift to mankind, and it is essential for survival and growth from the level of microbes to human beings. If there is no water, there won't be growth of any microorganism, or even humans would not live. Okay, so we all know that 70% of Earth's surface is made up of water, and only 1% of that is available in the form of fresh water, which can be used for the consumption and all type of usage for cooking, for processing, for drinking, and everything. So you imagine, say out of 70%, just 1%. So this 1% of the world's water supply is very precious commodity necessary for everyone's survival. So if we do not have water, what will happen? There will be dehydration, and that will kill us faster than starvation. And it has been scientifically also proven that water is even more important than a solid food. So since the plants and animals, we all eat and also depend on the water. So in addition to that basic need of water, there are other roles of water that are being uh, applied in case of food processing and food industry. So solvent, other roles of water, like it acts as a solvent, as I explained previously also, how it can be used as a solvent. For example, if we are making tea, so if you put the tea powder and sugar, so we want to extract the polyphenols, tannins, and extractives from the tea, then we use the water, and then we boil that tea powder, and then we get those extractives. Or we dissolve the sugar. For example, if you want to make the lemon juice or lemon water, so what we do, we add sugar into it, and we dissolve the sugar first. Or there are many other cases. So it is the only biological solvent which helps in many reactions. Many molecules have the tendency to get dissolved in this polar solvent, like sodium chloride, sugar, and so many, so many other. So it acts as a reactant in case of any hydrolysis reaction. For example, this hydrolysis reaction of CH3COH, plus it gets, it's a lipid hydrolysis reaction. So when the lipid gets comes into contact with the water, it gets hydrolyzed. Okay. Or in the product formulation, that we have seen that water is a byproduct of any condensation reaction. So it gives a product. Heat transfer medium, it is used to carry out heat as well as to remove heat from various operations like boiling, cooling. So food texture and quality, every food has its own texture also influences the quality of that product. Like for example, potato chips has a very crispy texture and is compared as a dry product, but when it absorbs the moisture, it becomes soggy, it loses its acceptance by the consumer. Same is applicable for your biscuits. Okay, so when we open the packet of a biscuit, they are very crispy, crunchy, and after some days, if you keep that open, they will become soggy, and they will become moist, which will also, it will lose its taste and texture. Then another example, say for example, you have a fresh leafy vegetable, that is spinach, and then you keep that spinach outside for maybe just at a room temperature for maybe a few hours or more hours. So it will lose its moisture, and then it will become like a very you know uh, very dull, and it will lose its moisture. So it won't be as fresh as. So the moisture plays a very important role. For example, dehydrated vegetable could be rehydrated if they are added into the water. For example, grape raisins, which are dehydrated, if you put them into water, they get rehydrated and absorb more moisture, and their texture is modified. So This water is also used in various food processing and preparation operation. Like water has many roles when it comes to food processing. Like in most, water is added as an ingredient in any product preparation. For example, chapati. For making chapati, you will need to make a dough, and the dough is made from whole wheat flour. So whole wheat flour can be converted into dough only when water is added. So wheat flour contains a protein gluten, so because of the water addition, gluten gets developed. Okay, so this is called as a water being used as an ingredient in either chapati making or bread making or biscuits making, and so on and so forth. So it is also used in the form of brine. There are so many vegetables and preparation in which this brine solution is used as a preservation technique, and the most known is a pickling. Okay, so for making the pickles we use brine solution. And sugar syrup, there are so many fruit slices like pineapple into the sugar solution, or there are so many other vegetable fruits, sorry, not vegetable, fruits are being dipped into this sugar solution. So it is also used in the form of this sugar solution. It is also used for cleaning, rinsing, chilling of fruits and vegetable. Imagine if there would not be water in our kitchen for at least one day, what will happen? It will be a big mess. And so is for any food processing operation: cleaning, rinsing, chilling, blanching, cooking. So many operations are there in which water is used during this preparation, processing, pre-processing operations. So its activity even extends to inactivation of enzyme when used. For example, I have already covered the blanching. Like there are two types of blanching: water blanching and steam blanching, and it is without water it cannot be possible. And blanching is a treatment, heat treatment, in which fruits or vegetable are treated at different time at temperature, at a high temperature, like boiling water in the water, and the enzymes gets inactivated. The outside, there are a lot of dirt, dust, soil will also gets removed. Also the green color of the vegetable enhances. So basically overall it is the main constituent in the steam production, which is considered as sterilization. So basically, there are three types of water that are seen in fruit and vegetable or in the food system. One is free water, the second one is entrapped water, and the third one is bound water. So let us see what is this. So free or unbound or available water means just freely available water. Like for example, if you have watermelon and if you press this watermelon, what happens? The water comes out. This is a free water. So water that can be extracted easily. Or you have a lemon and you squeeze that lemon, the juice comes out. Or oranges or sweet oranges, so any fruit which if you press, the water comes out. So they can be extracted easily from the food by squeezing or pressing, is known as a free water. Then the second type is your entrapped water. So those water which are entrapped inside a pectin gel or inside the cell, they have properties. So for example, now you have these oranges. Okay, so oranges ko press kiya and then you took out the, or you take out the juice. Okay, juice out of it. So you have this juice, but still the whatever the peel is there. Do you think the entire water has been removed in the form of juice? The peel is moist and wet. Okay, the peel is moist and wet. Do you think still it is a moisture free? No. So this peel also has some water which is there inside the pectin shell, inside the cell, inside these pomace, and they have properties very similar to that of free water, and they can be extracted by either cutting or damaging the cell. So for example, you take this pomace and you centrifuge. So when you centrifuge, little bit moisture will come out. So still there will be some, because this pomace is still not completely dried. So the third type is a bound water. So water that cannot be extracted easily. So after centrifugation also you cannot take out the water. So what is the third way? That type is a bound water. So water that cannot be extracted easily is termed as a bound water. So many food constituents can bind or hold on to water molecules such that they cannot be removed easily and they do not behave like a liquid. So after this, the pomace that you get, you dry it in the oven and then you will realize that there was, oh, of course there was some moisture content. Okay, so this is called as a bound water. So a portion of total water content present in a product is strongly bound to specific sites on the chemical that comprises the product. So you have these suppose you have this pomace, okay, in the cellulosic portion, or there will be some starch, there will be some protein. So all these will also bind. Okay, we know that starch will absorb the water and then they will bind the water. So these sites may include like hydroxyl. So starch will have these hydroxyl group of polysaccharide, because starch is a polysaccharide. Protein would have amino groups. Fat would have these other groups, okay, carbonyl and amino groups of proteins, and other polar sites can bind this water and make it unavailable. So therefore, it becomes a bound water. So hydrogen bonds, iron dipole bonds, and other strong chemical bonds tightly bound the water. Okay. So what is the characteristics? How do you identify that this is a bound water? So basically, it is not free to act as a solvent for salt, sugar. It can be frozen only at a very low temperature of minus 40 degrees Celsius. It exhibits essentially no vapor pressure. Its density is greater than that of the free water, and it is not available for the microbial growth. So bound water has more structural bonding than liquid or free water, thus it is unable to act as a solvent. So as we saw here, the point last second point is its density is greater than free water and therefore it exhibits no vapor pressure. So therefore, as the vapor pressure is negligible, the molecule cannot escape as the vapor. Yeah, you will wonder that can that be escaped as a vapor? The molecules in bound water are more closely packed than in the liquid state, so the density is greater. So example of bound water is water present in cacti or pine tree needles. The water cannot be squeezed or it cannot be pressed out. Extreme desert heat or winter freeze does not negatively affect this bound water and the vegetation remain alive. Even upon dehydration, food contains bound water. Okay, so for example, sugar also has some water. Suppose you have dehydrated vegetable, still there is a some percentage of water, and that comes under the bound water. Water molecules bind to polar groups or ionic sites on molecules such as starches, pectins, proteins. So water that is closest to these molecules is held most firmly. The subsequent water layers that are held less firmly and are less ordered until finally the structure of free water prevails. So water also may be entrapped in foods such as pectin, gels, fruits, vegetable, and so on. And entrapped water is immobilized in capillaries or cells, but if released during cutting or damage, it flows freely. Okay, so entrapped water has properties of a free water, but they are not bound water. Okay, so if there is a water, if it is a free water, or if it is a bound, if it is a water that is available to the microorganism. So this water, these two types of water affects the growth of microorganism in foodstuff, and that is expressed by measurement of water activity. Okay, so basically water activity is a measure of how efficiently the water present can take part in the chemical or physical reaction. Okay, very simple. In half, the water is so tightly bound to a protein molecule that it could not take part in a hydrolysis reaction. The overall water activity will be reduced.